And so again, our video here is really looking at our life after high school, attending college, and how can we pay for that. We have two videos that we're going to watch, and these you can follow along in your books. They start on page 110. So if you'll take your book out and go to page 110. The first video actually doesn't have any fill-ins, but the second video does. Again, that starts on 110 for this.
Not student loans.
Hopefully my parents.
My parents, or savings bonds and just stuff like that.
Mainly scholarships and just working.
I don't know.
I'm gonna try to do it with my grades. If not, then try and get a loan or a grant or something.
I plan to pay for college by scholarships and saving.
My parents are gonna help me most of the time, but I have a job, so I'm starting to save up now. Don't worry, I'm gonna save up my money too.
Right now, I've secured scholarships to pay for most of it. My parents have a bit saved up in our college fund for the rest.
It's really hard, but I'm trying for as many scholarships as I can get right now. And if I have to pay it off myself, then I will.
If you're planning to go to college, the big question is, how in the world am I going to pay for it? You could be like the guy I met at a private college a few months ago. He had the usual senioritis, about to graduate college and ready to take on the world. On top of that, he was engaged to be married, and he and his fiancée had a dream to live overseas and work for a nonprofit. It's a pretty exciting time in life, right? The only problem is he owed $80,000 in student loans. And that's not the worst of it. His soon-to-be wife owed $80,000 in loans too. You guys, that means they're $160,000 in the hole before they ever get their first real paycheck. I did the math, and the monthly payment on their loan will be $1,800 every single month for 10 years. And at the end of those 10 years, they will have paid an additional $56,000 in interest alone. Think about it like this. College graduates who actually get a job in their field out of college might start out making $35,000 to $45,000 a year. But if you factor in graduates who are unemployed or underemployed because they can't find work in their career field, the average salary drops to around $27,000 after taxes. Their take-home pay is about $1,800 a month. If they're both working full-time, one of them will spend 40 hours a week working just to make their student loan payment for 10 years, and that's it. They won't get to save that money for a house. They can't use it for vacation. They can't use it for new clothes or a night out at the movies. It will go straight from their employer to their lender. And this young guy and his soon-to-be wife won't be pursuing their dream to live overseas, at least not for a while. Working for a nonprofit in a developing country is tough. It doesn't pay much. It's not that they would mind a small salary. It's just that they've got an $1,800 a month payment to make. Debt is holding them captive. And what breaks my heart even more is how many young adults take out loans. It's accepted as totally normal. But is that your dream for life after college, though? If you take out student loans, paying off debt will become your reality, no matter what you're hoping for. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can make the right decisions about paying for college by starting with the end in mind. Think about where you want to be in 5, 10, or 15 years after graduation. Imagine how awesome your life could be if you're young, with a college degree, big dreams for your future, and no debt. When we talk about student loans, we spend a lot of time discussing how rough life can be going into debt. And you guys, that's an important conversation for us to have. If you're armed with the truth about student loans, you'll make better decisions. But I'd also love to offer you encouragement of what life can be like if you avoid student loans. When I went to school, there was no way my dad was going to let me go into debt for college. He also wasn't going to spend tons of money for me to attend the nicest private school in the country and party for 6 years. Not a chance. I went to a public university in my own state and graduated in 4 years. I loved every minute of it. The best part, though, is the feeling I had graduating with 0 debts. Not long after, I married a guy who worked his way through school to avoid going into debt. Together, we owed no money to anyone. Okay, think about that for a second. At 22, we started doing the responsible stuff, like saving for the future and investing in retirement. And we also used our income for fun things, like going on a cool trip or buying a nice purse. And because we're living debt-free and we're being wise with our money, we'll be able to leave that legacy for our kids one day. That is such an incredible feeling, and I want you to experience that too. Traveling across the country, I hear from adults all the time who say, I wish I had known this stuff when I was younger. And you guys, for a lot of those people, they took their first step in getting into debt their first day of college. At this point, you're probably thinking, all right, Rachel, I won't take out loans, but how in the world am I going to pay for college? Well, that's what we're going to dive into right now.
Really sure.
I haven't really looked into that.
Depends. It can be $1,000 a year or $4,000 a year. I'm not really sure about that, actually.
About $20,000 a year.
Public, maybe about 16 grand. Private, probably closer to 30 to 40 grand.
It depends, like you said, public or private, but I'm going to a private college, and I believe it's $24,000 a year.
Public, kind of more than a private.
Private, the ones that I've looked at are like $22,000, and that's in-state and out. And in-state tuitions that I've seen are like $6,000.
Depends on what kind of scholarships you get and what kind of grades you make. But probably, for me, hopefully only a couple thousand.
Public is probably around $20,000 a year.
I'm not sure about public because I'm going private, but it's $20,000 a year plus around $6,000 to $7,000 for room and board. So a lot of money.
About if it's a big college, it's about $200 to $500. If it's a small college, about $100 to $300.
Here's the good news, you guys. There are tons of ways to cash flow college. Get good grades. Do well in your ACT or SAT. Shop around. Research grants and scholarships. Get a part-time job or work on campus. In fact, a combination of all of these things is really the way to go. Of course, it won't happen automatically. You will need a plan. So let's walk through each of these options. The first thing you can do right now is get good grades. You know that grade in that one class that you hate the most and swear you'll never use out in the real world? Well, it matters. It matters because your grades are a big part of your acceptance into college. Also, good grades can help you get free money. Who wouldn't want that, right? So you're basically getting paid to be a high school student. Hard work now equals big money later. Another way to earn big money is by doing well in your ACT or SAT. These tests measure your understanding of what you've been taught during your 4 years of high school. It's important to remember that you don't have to wait until the end of high school to take the test. It's actually a good idea to sign up for the ACT or SAT your sophomore year. Right away, you'll get a clear picture of what areas you excel in and what areas you'll need improvement. You can find study books at your local library or take prep courses offered by a community college or university in your area. Many of them are pretty inexpensive or totally free. Keep in mind that the ACT and the SAT are not created equal. Some students find that they do much better on one test than another. So go ahead and take both. And take both multiple times. One student, Chad, took the ACT 18 times. Yeah, that's a ton of early Saturday mornings. By the end, though, he earned a perfect ACT score and received a full ride scholarship to college. That, my friends, makes it all worthwhile. Now, maybe you're thinking, how much does college even cost? I mean, what is a full ride scholarship really worth? Well, I'm so glad you asked. The most recent averages are as follows. For a private university, $29,000. For an out-of-state public university, $21,700. For an in-state public university, $8,600. Oh, and did I mention those numbers are per year? That means your total tuition costs at graduation can range anywhere from $34,000 to $116,000. In just 4 years, people. And that doesn't even include living expenses like rent, food, or bills. That's why it pays not only to get good grades and to do well in your ACT and SAT, but also to do your research. As you're thinking on where you'd like to go, it's a good idea to narrow down your choices to 6 schools or less. Then get to work. Look online to determine what degree programs each school offers, how much tuition costs, where the school is located, the price differences between living at home versus living on campus, and any other factors you and your parents feel are important. We offer a great resource and tools online at foundationsu.com to help you choose a college. Also, don't pick a school based on where your friends are going. Schools that have an awesome football team or a big party scene might sound awesome right now, but those things won't matter much when you're 25, jobless, with no college degree, and a ton of debt. Instead, explore your options with a keen eye. A more expensive school does not always mean a better quality. Many employers don't care where you went to college. They just want to know that you graduated. So think about skipping the private school and don't just step over your state line to go to a public university and pay 3 times as much. I went to a state school in my own state, remember? No complaints here. It was an awesome experience, and you can do the same. You can also attend a community college for the first 2 years to knock out your basic courses at a super low cost. Then you can transfer those courses to a local university to get your 4-year degree. So it won't matter that you went to a community college. Your degree will only show that you graduated from a 4-year university. Keep in mind that if you attend a community college, you should work closely with your advisor to make sure your classes transfer. Most of them do, but it's always best to be on top of things so you don't waste any time or effort. I know that this is a lot, but there's even more options to consider.
My school was a private school, and the sticker price at that school, after you factor in everything, tuition, room, board, food, was about $45,000 a year. That was a huge price tag, and I didn't have that kind of money going into it. But I had it in my head early that I wanted to graduate debt-free, and so I knew that I could find the opportunities to cut that cost down and to make it manageable. Colleges offer so many opportunities to cut down on that cost, be they scholarships, be they work studies, being an RA, tons of things. I mean, I got a scholarship in my college for playing in a bagpipe corps. You know, there are tons of things that colleges will do to help you cut down on costs. So never look at that and be like, $40,000, there's no way I could do that without debt, because at the end of the day, if you do your homework and you start early, it's not going to be that much. One of the most important things when you're trying to graduate debt-free is scholarships. The truth is there are hundreds of thousands of dollars out there, tens of thousands of dollars that go unclaimed every year because no one even bothers to apply. So if you want to cut out a big chunk of your tuition cost, you're going to have to research a lot of scholarships. The good news is there's a lot of help out there. Oftentimes scholarships will have you write an essay. This is a really important piece, so you want to make sure that as you're applying for these scholarships, you're getting the writing help to make your essay stand out. Because believe me, if it's a popular scholarship that tons of people are applying for, most people are going to write that essay the night before the scholarships do. So if you want the scholarship, you can't do that. You're going to have to plan ahead, and you're going to have to spend several weeks, months, depending on the essay, writing it, perfecting it, making sure that it says what you want it to say, and that it expresses what you really want it to express. And an important piece to that is understand what the scholarship is looking for. Understand what that committee will be looking for, and then make sure you highlight the things you've done that fit in with that. The other key thing is that you're going to want to work during college. For me, I worked about 20 hours a week while I was studying, and my grades were always, great through that time. In fact, better than a lot of my friends who weren't working. The other thing is during the summer, plan on working during college. Plan on having 3 jobs. Your summer is the time to really save up a chunk of cash to put towards the next semester, because inevitably, you're going to do this research. I think you're going to get lots of scholarships because there are tons out there, but you're going to have that cash too. Another important thing is just keep the end in mind. Like I said, that was the key, is beginning early. But another key is never forgetting that you want to graduate debt-free. You'll have loan officers that'll come up and tell you that you can't do it, that you need to take this loan. They'll offer you loans. So you have to keep it straight in your head that you want to graduate debt-free, and don't let anyone else tell you that you can't.
All right, and so now what we're going to do is we are going to head on over to our Schoology. Well, let's first look at this. So that, again, that first section was really about just kind of making that decision about college, and really starting with that end in mind. The second part was really about how you can pay for that college by planning ahead, and then really focusing on finding ways to get scholarships. So either if it's academic, or if they're, a lot of different organizations put out scholarships just for different things, being a part of a different thing, or and I know that like our counselor's office, they put out scholarships all the time about, for different things, being a part of a different group, or some of them are not even that. You can anyone can apply. They just give out money. Look around. I know like a lot of credit unions like to give out scholarships, and every little bit helps if college is what you're thinking about. Every little bit helps. There's also a lot of different factors when looking at college. If it's a public school versus private, if it's in-state or out-of-state. We also, we're very fortunate. We live right next to Muskegon Community College. It's right down the road from school. And so if you're unsure of what you want to do, or even if you are sure of what you want to do, you can go to Muskegon Community College and take courses that are a lot cheaper, and then they transfer to a university. Just make sure that you work with, kind of have an idea of where you want to go first, and then you work with an advisor at the school, and then they can tell you what classes that transfer over to other universities. They generally have programs and things like that. And that's a great way to get those same courses at a lower cost. Or you could get a 2-year degree, or take a trades program at Muskegon Community College. And there's still scholarships that will help pay for those. There's even some local businesses that will pay for you to go to college. I know of like even, I know one in particular is actually Wesco. If you're a college student, and it is grades based, but if you earn certain grades while working at Wesco and taking classes at like Muskegon Community College, they'll pay for your classes. And so you can be working a job and get your college paid for while you're at Muskegon Community College. So that's a great thing to do if you're thinking about going to college, or even if you want to take a trades program at Muskegon Community College, because there's a lot of trades programs there as well. You can get that paid for just by working at Wesco. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to head on over to Schoology. And your assignment for today is looking at this case study. And so you'll have to open this. Remember, log in with Google or begin with Google. And so it says, Ethan is in his third year of college and has run out of savings to pay for school. However, he is determined to finish his degree and graduate without debt. Tuition for his fourth year will amount to $9,000, not including his living expenses. If he keeps a GPA up this semester, he can maintain his academic scholarship for $3,000 and his federal grant for $2,000. That still leaves $4,000 for tuition plus his living expenses and books. He has 4 months to come, or only has 4 months to come up with that money. And then there are 4 questions that kind of go along with that on how to pay for that, and it kind of prompts you on how he could do that. So I want you to work on that.